Thank God, this incredible HFY masterpiece found you today. Witness the legend starting now. He had killed 733 sentient beings across 12 star systems. Not one of them ever survived until a human maintenance girl offered him breakfast. Krellbacks had murdered exactly 743 sentient beings across 12 star systems, and not once, not even once, had any of them survived long enough to offer him breakfast. He was what the criminal underworld called a clean operator, which was a polite way of saying he could kill you 17 different ways with nothing but a spoon and a moderately disappointed expression. The Zafrani Empire paid him untraceable credit chips. The merchant guilds paid him in rare metals. The corrupt governors paid him in political favors and expensive wine, which honestly Krellbacks appreciated more than the money at this point in his career. His species music, the Rixian, were already intimidating by default. HFT, tall forearms, exoskeleton plates that could deflect small arms fire, and a lovely set of mandibles that clicked when he was thinking about the best way to separate your head from your shoulders. Krellbacks himself was considered unusually terrifying even by Rixian standards, mostly because of his eyes, cold, calculating, the kind of eyes that measured you for a coffin while shaking your hand at a dinner party. The bounty had come through the usual encrypted channels. Target: one human female, name Jessie. Work: occupation, maintenance technician on a backwater colony called New Bristol. Crime: witnessed something she should not have witnessed involving a certain senator's very illegal shipping operations. Payment: enough credits to buy a small moon, or at least a decent-sized asteroid with good mineral deposits. Krellbacks had raised one of his 4 eyebrows, which was his equivalent of shock surprise. Humans were the new kids on the galactic stage, barely a century into space exploration, and already they were making enemies with senators, either impressive or suicidal, probably both, knowing what little he understood about human behavior. The dossier was thin, embarrassingly thin. 26 years old, no combat training, no augmentations, no apparent security detail. She fixed air recyclers and water filtration systems for a living, for crying out loud. This was almost insulting to his professional reputation, almost, but the credits were real, and credits did not care about professional pride, so Krellbacks accepted the contract, packed his favorite plasma blade, his second favorite garrote wire, his third favorite neurotoxin, and his absolutely most favorite bottle of Ganthrine whiskey for celebrating another successful job, and booked passage to New Bristol. It should have been simple: walk in, eliminate target, walk out, enjoy whiskey. Should have been. New Bristol was, and Krellbacks meant this with absolute professional certainty, a complete dump. The colony sprawled, a planet that looked like someone had taken all the worst features of swamp worlds and desert worlds, music, shaken them together in a bag, and dumped them out without bothering to check if they made sense. The spaceport was 3 landing pads, a rusted fuel depot, and what appeared to be a bar that doubled as the customs office. No security scanners, no identification checks. The human who stamped his travel documents was eating something called a sandwich and did not even look up. Krellbacks had infiltrated maximum security prisons with more difficulty than this. The humans here were, to put it Diplomatically unhinged, they walked around in the blazing heat wearing minimal protective gear, as if UV radiation was a personal suggestion rather than a medical necessity. One human was fixing an electrical panel with bare hands, no insulation gloves, just casually rewiring live circuits while having a conversation about sports scores with a passing colleague. Another human was lifting cargo containers that should have required mechanized equipment, just hoisting them onto shoulders and walking away like it was perfectly normal. Krelbex consulted his data pad. According to galactic standards, this planet's gravity was 0.98 standard, which was essentially baseline, but these humans moved like they were on a low-gravity world, bouncing around with ridiculous energy. The atmospheric oxygen content was actually slightly lower than Earth. Normal, these colonists should have been tired, sluggish. Instead, they seemed caffeinated to the point of mania. He found his target within 2 hours, which was either excellent tracking skills on his part or terrible operational security on hers, probably both. Jessie Rourke was underneath a massive atmospheric processor, sparks flying around her head as she wielded some kind of plasma torch with absolutely no protective face shield. Her hair, a shock of bright red that would make music camouflage impossible, was tied back in a messy knot. She was singing loudly off-key, something about leaving on a jet plane and not knowing when she would be back again, whatever that meant. Krelbex positioned himself on a catwalk above her workspace. Perfect vantage point. 20 FT dropped directly onto the target. His plasma blade hummed to life, barely audible over the industrial machinery. He calculated trajectories, accounting for her possible movement patterns. 3 seconds until optimal strike window. 2 seconds. 1 second. He dropped. Jessie rolled out from under the processor at exactly that moment, still singing, completely oblivious, holding a wrench the size of Krelbex's forearm. He landed where she had been approximately half a second earlier, his blade stabbing through empty air and embedding itself 2 inches into the concrete floor. She stood up, noticed him crouched there with a glowing energy weapon, blinked twice and said, "Oh hey, sorry mate. Did not see you there. You looking for the personnel office? It is 2 buildings over, the one with the blue door. Well, it used to be blue. Now it is kind of greenish because Jenkins tried to repaint it and bought the wrong color, but you will know it when you see it." Krelbeck stared at her. She stared back, waiting for a response, still holding that absurd wrench. This was not how assassinations were supposed to go. "I am not looking for the personnel office," he said slowly, retracting his blade. "Oh, you must be one of the new mining consultants then. Welcome to New Bristol. Fair warning, the coffee here tastes like recycled boots, but it will keep you awake for 3 shifts straight, so pros and cons." "Yeah," she smiled, actually smiled at him. Krelbex's mandibles clicked in confusion. This was going to be more complicated than anticipated. Krelbex prided himself on adaptability. A good assassin adjusted to circumstances, found new angles, exploited weaknesses. So he followed Jessie Rourke for 3 days, studying her patterns, waiting for the perfect moment to complete his contract. Those 3 days aged him approximately 10 years. Attempt number 2 happened in the colony mess hall. Krelbex had acquired a neurotoxin that would stop a Rixian heart in under 30 Seconds colorless and tasteless when mixed with liquids, music. He slipped it into her coffee while she was distracted arguing with someone. Named Patterson music about proper torque specifications for pressure valves. Jessie drank the entire cup. 4 massive gulps, barely pausing for breath. Then she had a second cup, then a third. The toxin dosage in that first cup alone should have killed a creature twice her size. She just kept talking about pressure valves, gesturing wildly with her hands, completely and utterly fine. Krelbeck's actually checked the toxin bottle twice to make sure he had not accidentally grabbed a placebo. Nope. Genuine Thoraxian death juice, certified. Lethal, guaranteed results. The bottle did not lie. Jessie's continued existence did. Attempt number 3 was more direct. He rigged a cargo container to fall on her while she was working in the storage bay. 50 tons of mining equipment, precisely calculated drop trajectory, time to the millisecond. Container fell. Jessie looked up at the last possible second, yelled something that sounded like "oh bollocks," and dove forward. The container missed her by inches, crashed into the floor with a sound like thunder having a bad day, and cracked the reinforced concrete. Jessie popped back up, dusted herself off, looked at the destroyed floor, and said, "Well, that is coming out of somebody's safety budget." Then she walked away, completely unconcerned that she had nearly been transformed into human pancake. Krelbeck's was developing a stress-related clicking in his mandibles. Attempt number 4 involved sabotaging her environmental suit before she went outside for repairs on the exterior communications array. The oxygen mix would slowly become toxic, causing disorientation and unconsciousness within 10 minutes, death within 20. Clean, simple, looked like equipment malfunction. Jessie came back 4 hours later, suit completely functional, cheerfully explaining to a coworker that she had fixed not just the communications array, but also 2 backup generators and a weather monitoring station because, quote, "I was already out there, might as well be productive." Right, the sabotage had failed, or she had fixed it while wearing it, while working in a toxic atmosphere, while simultaneously repairing multiple complex systems. Krelbeck's went back to his rented room and stared at the ceiling for 2 hours, questioning every life choice that had led him to this moment. Attempt number 5 was supposed to be foolproof. He waited until she was working alone in a maintenance tunnel, rigged an explosive charge to collapse the tunnel entrance and exit simultaneously, trapping her a section that would lose atmospheric pressure within minutes. No oxygen, no escape routes. And GT music. And GT no possibility of survival. The charges detonated perfectly. The tunnel collapsed exactly as planned. Krelbeck's waited 30 minutes to be absolutely certain, then walked away to begin planning his exit from this ridiculous planet. 6 hours later, he saw Jessie in the Colony bar, laughing with friends, covered in dust and smelling like burnt plastic. "You will not believe the day have had," she was saying to a fascinated audience. "Tunnel collapsed on both ends." Right. And GT music. And GT. So I had to dig through about 40 ft of rubble with a broken hydraulic jack and a really optimistic attitude. Took forever. Missed lunch, absolutely starving, but hey, I found Jenkins' lost welding torch in there, so something good came out of it. her friends bought her drinks to celebrate her survival. Krelvix bought himself drinks to cope with his professional crisis. This was impossible. Humans were not supposed to be this durable. They were soft, squishy, fragile little primates who had barely figured out faster than light travel. They did not just shrug off neurotoxins and collapsing tunnels like minor inconveniences. He was going to need a new plan or therapy, possibly both. On day 7, Krelvix was sitting on a bench outside the engineering depot, having what could only be described as an existential crisis about his career choices when Jessie Rourke walked directly up to him with that same aggressively friendly smile she seemed to apply to every situation. "All right, I have been seeing you around for a week now, and I have got to ask, are you actually lost, or are you just really committed to looking mysterious and brooding?" Krelvix's 4 hands twitched toward 4 different concealed weapons. "I am not lost. Sure, that is what everyone says right before they admit they have been sleeping in a storage unit because they could not find the residential block." She sat down next to him, uninvited, smelling like machine oil and something sweet he could not identify. "Let me guess, you booked accommodation through the colony net. They gave you an address. You showed up and it was either non-existent or it was Jenkins' shipping container that he illegally sublets to off-world workers." That was horrifyingly exactly what had happened. Krelvix had been sleeping in what was generously described as a furnished room, but was actually a metal box with a cot and a disturbing stain on the ceiling. "My accommodations are adequate," he said stiffly. "Right, and I am the queen of Antares. Come on." She stood up, gesturing for him to follow. "You are coming with me. Nobody, and I mean nobody, suffers through Jenkins' rental scam on my watch. I know a place. I do not require assistance." "Oh, you absolutely do. You just have not admitted it yet. Very common condition among stoic warrior types. I dated a Corthian Marine once. Same problem. Refused to ask for directions. Ended up in a waste reclamation facility. Very embarrassing for everyone involved." She started walking, clearly expecting him to follow. "I am Jessie, by the way, but you probably figured that out from the name tag or from me being the loudest person in every room I enter. It is a gift and a curse." Krelvix followed, mostly because he was too bewildered to do anything else. This was his target, the being he had been hired to kill. She was cheerfully leading him through the colony like they were old friends, pointing out landmarks and complaining about the local infrastructure with the passionate intensity of someone who personally maintained most of it. They ended up at the bar called the Rusty Reactor, which was either charmingly rustic or a legitimate safety hazard. Possibly both. The interior smelled like alcohol, fried food, and poor decisions. Every table was occupied by colonists in various states of exhaustion and intoxication. "Hey, Daniels," Jessie called to the bartender, a stocky human with impressive facial hair. "This is my new friend. He needs the usual welcome package. New guy special coming right up," Daniels said, already reaching for bottles. "I did not agree to this," Krelvix protested. "You did not disagree either, so legally that counts as agreement in approximately 60% of known legal systems." Jessie pushed him toward a bar stool. "Sit, drink, tell me your tragic backstory. Everyone on New Bristol has one. It is kind of our thing." The bartender placed 2 glasses In front of them, the liquid inside was amber-colored and smelled like it could strip paint off a starship hull. What is this? Krelvex asked suspiciously. Locally distilled whiskey. Well, whiskey adjacent, technically it is made from fermented tuber root, because actual grain does not grow here. But close enough, it will either cure what ails you or create entirely new ailments. We are still gathering data. Jessie raised her glass to new friends and questionable life choices. Krelvex stared at the glass. This was absurd. He was a professional killer. She was his target. He should be planning his next assassination attempt. Music not. Drinking with her in a bar that probably violated 37 safety regulations, but she was looking at him with such genuine warmth, such uncomplicated friendliness, that something in his cold, calculated assassin brain just sort of gave up. He picked up the glass to questionable life choices. He echoed, his translator struggling with the informal phrasing. They drank. The liquid hit his system like a plasma grenade going off in his throat. His eyes watered, his mandibles clenched involuntarily, every nerve ending in his body briefly considered mutiny. Jessie slammed her empty glass down and grinned. Good, right. Burns in that nice way that lets you know it is working. Working on what? Krelvex wheezed. Killing brain cells mostly, but in a fun social way. She signaled Daniels for another round. So, mystery guy, what brings you to our little corner of nowhere? And please say something interesting. The last visitor we got was an accountant auditing our recycling efficiency. Lovely person. Terrible conversationalist. Krelvex looked at his empty glass, then at Jessie's expectant face, then at the rapidly approaching second round of toxic colonial moonshine. His professional pride was going to hate him for this. I am an assassin, he said. I was hired to kill you. Jessie blinked once, processed this information for approximately 3 seconds, then burst out laughing so hard she nearly fell off her barstool. Oh man, that is hilarious. No, seriously, that is the best opening line I have heard in months. An assassin. Classic. She wiped tears from her eyes. You almost had me there for a second. I am entirely serious, Krelvex said. Sure. You are, and I am secretly a princess hiding from space pirates. She accepted the second round from Daniels. Come on. If you were really an assassin, I would be dead already. Those guys are supposed to be efficient, right? Professional killers do not sit around having drinks with their targets. Krelvex's mandibles clicked in what might have been frustration or possibly the beginning of hysterical laughter. He was not entirely sure anymore. I have been trying to kill you for 7 days. The neurotoxin in your coffee, the falling cargo container, the collapsed tunnel, all of it. You. Jessie's smile faltered slightly. Wait. The tunnel thing was you? Yes, she considered this, taking a long sip of her drink. That explains why the structural supports looked weird. I thought it was just shoddy maintenance. She paused. So you are actually serious? You are an actual assassin. 743 confirmed eliminations across 12-star systems, and you cannot kill me, correct? Jessie started laughing again, even harder this time. Oh, that is amazing. That is absolutely brilliant. You poor thing, you must be so frustrated. You have no idea. Krelvex muttered, draining his second glass. The alcohol was doing something strange to his inhibitions, probably dissolving them. Okay, wait. Jessie held up a hand trying to compose herself. Who hired you? Because honestly I would love to know who is mad enough at me to hire an actual professional killer. Senator Vaughn, you witnessed one of his illegal shipments. Oh, that guy. Jesse waved dismissively. Yeah, I saw his cargo manifest when I was fixing a database error, noticed some inconsistencies, reported it to my supervisor, got told to mind my own business, standard corporate corruption stuff. She signaled for another round. He sent you all the way out here for that? Talk about an overreaction. Krelvix watched as Daniels poured round 3 on impulse, driven by professional stubbornness and possibly by the alcohol currently rewiring his brain chemistry. He pulled a small vial from his inner pocket, fast-acting paralytic. He had been saving it for emergencies. Music. He palmed it, waited for Jessie to look away, and dumped it into her glass. She picked it up, still talking. I mean, I get it, loose ends and all that, but come on, I'm a maintenance tech on a colony world. Who am I going to tell? Galactic Police. They do not care. Regulatory agencies. They are probably taking bribes from the same senator. She drank the entire poisoned glass in one continuous motion. Krelvix watched, waiting for the paralysis to kick in. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. Jesse burped, completely unaffected. Sorry, excuse me. So anyway, what is it like being an assassin? Is it all dramatic rooftop chases and elaborate disguises, or is it mostly just paperwork and waiting around? How are you not dead? Krelvix asked, his voice slightly higher pitched than usual. What? I just poisoned your drink. Fast-acting paralytic, military grade. You should be unconscious. Jesse looked at her empty glass, then at him, then shrugged. Must be my metabolism. My doctor says I process toxins really efficiently. Something about genetic variation and Earth's pollution exposure over generations. Basically, my liver is overachieving. She patted his shoulder with one hand. A points for persistence, though I respect the commitment. Daniels arrived with round 4, and then round 5, and then something he called the Special Reserve, which came in a bottle with a handwritten warning label. They kept drinking. Jesse kept talking, asking questions about Krell of Axe's work with the kind of genuine curiosity that made it impossible not to answer. He told her about contracts, about the various species he had eliminated, about the time he had infiltrated a diplomatic summit by pretending to be a waiter. She told him about growing up on Earth, about signing up for colony work to escape student debt, about learning that fixing broken machinery was surprisingly similar across all known civilizations because, quote, everything breaks in stupid, predictable ways. Round 8 arrived. Or possibly it was round 12. Krell of Axe had lost count. You know what your problem is, Jessie said, her words only slightly slurred. She was leaning against the bar, looking perfectly stable despite the truly alarming amount of alcohol she had consumed. You are too specialized. You have been trained to kill all these different species, but humans are new. We are the wild card, the variable you did not account for. Clearly, Krell of Axe said. And GT, music. And GT. His vision was doing something interesting. There appeared to be 3 Jessies now. All of them were smiling. We are stubborn and lucky, and too stupid to know when we should be dead. She raised her glass, which had somehow been refilled to human durability and failed assassination attempts, 2. Failure, Krelov Axe agreed miserably. Clinking his glass against hers, he drank. The room tilted sideways. His forearms were not cooperating with basic motor functions anymore. Somewhere in the distance he heard Jesse laughing. Warm and bright and completely impossibly alive, his last coherent thought before the alcohol finally knocked him unconscious was that human moonshine had accomplished what 7 assassination attempts could not. It had absolutely destroyed him. Krelov Axe woke up convinced he had died and gone to whatever afterlife punished assassins who failed their contracts. Every part of his body hurt, parts he did not even know could hurt were sending urgent distress signals to his brain. His exoskeleton plates felt like they were vibrating at a frequency specifically designed to cause maximum suffering. His mandibles tasted like something had died in his mouth, been resurrected, and then died again out of spite. He opened his eyes. Mistake. Light stabbed directly into his brain like a plasma knife. Oh, good, you are awake, Jesse's voice chirped from somewhere nearby. Aggressively cheerful, I was starting to wonder if I should call a medic. You have been unconscious for 11 hours. Krelov Axe groaned, a sound that came from deep in his thorax and expressed approximately 7 different types of regret simultaneously. He was lying on a couch, not his couch, a couch in what appeared to be a small, cluttered apartment filled with mechanical parts, technical manuals, and several plants that seemed to be thriving despite the complete lack of proper lighting. Smell of cooking food filled the air, which would have been pleasant if his entire digestive system was not currently staging a revolution. Jesse appeared in his field of vision, holding a plate of something that was steaming. She looked, and this was the truly offensive part, completely fine, not hungover, not even slightly tired. She was wearing clean clothes. Her hair was neatly tied back, and she had the energetic aura of someone who had slept a full 8 hours and done morning exercises. How? Krelov Axe croaked. How what? How are you functional? We drank enough alcohol to sedate a Corthian battle cruiser. Oh, that. Yeah, I'm pretty much immune to hangovers. Genetic lottery, I guess. My dad was the same way, could drink anyone under the table and then get up at dawn to go fishing. She set the plate on a small table next to the couch. Made you breakfast? Well, breakfast music adjacent. I do not know what Rixians eat, so I just made extra of what I was having. Protein, scrambled toast, some fruit. If you cannot eat it, no worry. Krelov Axe slowly, painfully sat up. His forearms moved with all the coordination of a newborn trying to operate heavy machinery. He looked at the food. He looked at Jesse. He looked at his entire life laid out before him in a series of poor decisions that had led to this exact moment, and something inside him, something that had been wound tight for decades, just snapped. I do not understand, he said quietly. I have killed creatures who begged for their lives. I have eliminated targets who had families, who had children, who had done nothing except exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. I am good at what I do, exceptionally good, and I cannot kill one human maintenance worker who keeps offering me breakfast, music. Jessie sat down in a chair across from him, her expression softening. You told me last night, you know, about the contract, about Senator Vaughn, about all of it. You were very thorough, also. Very drunk but mostly thorough. I remember he did, unfortunately. Alcohol had not erased those memories, just made them fuzzy and embarrassing around the edges. So here is my question, Jesse said, leaning forward. Do you actually want to kill me, or are you just going through the motions? Because that is what you have always done. Krell of Axe stared at her. Question hit harder than any hangover. I do not know, he admitted. Well, Jesse said, picking up a piece of toast and gesturing with it like she was making a philosophical point. Maybe it is time to figure that out. Jesse chewed her toast thoughtfully for a moment, then said, music. Okay, I have an idea. What if we fake my death? Krell of Axe blinked, all four eyes in sequence. What? Think about it. You need proof of completion for your contract, right? A body, evidence, something. Music. We stage an accident, industrial explosion. Very common in maintenance work. Tragic but believable. You get your payment. Senator Vaughn thinks his problem is solved and I get to disappear for a while. She was warming to the idea, gesturing enthusiastically. I have been meaning to transfer to another colony. Anyway, this place is okay, but the coffee really is terrible. We could call it witness protection. Self-administered. That is insane. Is it though? Is it really more insane than you spending a week trying to murder me and then getting drunk together instead? She had a point, a frustratingly valid point. Krell of Axe considered the logistics. It could work. A sufficiently large explosion would destroy biological evidence. He could fabricate enough forensic data to satisfy the contract. Verification. Senator Vaughn would never bother to confirm beyond the initial report. Politicians were lazy that way. Why would you help me? He asked. I tried to kill you multiple times. Yeah, but you also bought round 6 through 10 last night, so I figure we are even. She grinned. Plus you are clearly having some kind of career crisis, and I have always been a sucker for helping people figure out their life problems. It is a character flaw. My ex said I had a savior complex. I said she had commitment issues. We were both right. 3 days later, a massive explosion rocked the atmospheric processing plant. And GT, music. And GT, tragic accident, faulty pressure valve. 1 casualty. Maintenance technician Jesse Rourke, a 26, survived by no immediate family. Remembered fondly by coworkers as that loud one who fixed everything. Krell of Axe submitted his contract completion report, received his payment, and immediately began the process of retiring from assassination work. Buddy, instead of a corpse, the whole career loses its appeal. Jesse transferred to a mining colony 3 systems away under a new name, sent him her contact information, and made him promise to visit. He did visit frequently. They fell into an easy friendship built on sarcasm, alcohol tolerance tests, and long conversations about the absurdity of galactic politics. She taught him how to play poker. He taught her 17 ways to kill someone with improvised materials, which she found academically fascinating but morally questionable. 6 months later, sitting in another questionable bar on another backwater colony, Jessie raised her glass and said, "You know what is funny? You spent your whole career learning how to kill people efficiently. Turns out humans are way more dangerous by just being friendly." Krell of Axe clicked his mandibles in what had become his version Of laughter, how so, we make you care, that is way more lethal than any weapon. She clinked her glass against his. And GT, music. And GT, to failed assassinations and successful friendships to humans, Krell of Axe said, the galaxy's most terrifying species, and they do not even realize it. They drank in somewhere in the universe. A senator wondered why his problems kept multiplying instead of disappearing, never realizing that making an enemy of a human was bad enough, but making an enemy of a human with an assassin best friend was exponentially worse. But that, as they say, is a story for another time.